Someone in the comments asked me recently if, in hindsight, knowing everything that I know now about how my marriage would turn out and how my life would have changed so much over that period of time and all the pain and anguish and all the difficulties that I faced, if I could relive that time, if I could go back to that first date with my ex-wife and change something, would I do it? And I had to really think about that for a long time because it's a really great question. On balance, I would say that things turned out better for me than I would have ever guessed. And so the best thing about my marriage might have been the worst thing. Let me just explain. When I'm lifting weights, my body experiences some significant amounts of discomfort. And that discomfort manifests itself in fatigue, pain, burning, and finally exhaustion. I don't mind it so much because I know that the adversity that I'm facing in that moment is critical in order for my body to adapt and become stronger and better. So when guys send texts or comments to me asking about marriage and whether they should consider getting married because it's something that they want to do, they're biologically driven to it, they want to bring someone else into their lives. And I know that a lot of you guys think red pill is about saying no to everything. It's not. That's not what red pill is at all. Hard for me to say no. Not because I think that they have a great chance of having a terrific, wonderful marriage, but because I know that in order for each of us to achieve higher levels of personal development, consciousness, whatever you want to call it, you got to face some adversity. And although my marriage certainly did give me a lot of stress, and you might even argue some post-traumatic stress, definitely made me a much, much, much better person. Not because she was that great of a wife, but because I needed to adapt, I needed to change, I needed to become better, and I needed to find my path in life. That's what I'm going to talk about today, is how even a bad marriage can help you find a really great life. It's not easy, but it's worth it. A few videos back, I talked about Life 1.0 being an algorithm, where basically it's a checklist of things that we do when we get to a certain stage in our lives. So you graduate from high school, maybe either you're going to go look for a trade or a job, or maybe you're going to go on to college, and after that you're going to find a job, you're going to hopefully meet somebody, buy a house, get married, have children. All these things in some order are a template, a boilerplate for the great American dream, for living a valuable life. And we all fall into it, for the most part, not everybody. Some people are smart enough to see the writing on the wall, but most of us fall into that trap. We do those things, we follow that path. The problem with it is, for many of us, it's not the path we would have chosen if we had the maturity, the foresight, the understanding to choose a path that's better fitting us. And sometimes it's just a matter of having the courage to take those steps, because whenever you step outside of the predetermined line, well, people get angry at you. People don't like it. They don't support you. People don't like it when you go off on your own. You know, they want you to fall in line with everybody else. And if you're going to be that one guy that steps out, well, you're probably going to find yourself being ostracized to some degree, even by the people closest to you, your family, your parents. They're not going to be on board if you suddenly decide that you want to take a path that isn't well traveled. And I think that happens to a lot of people. But for me, and probably for the vast majority of you guys, you took that well-traveled path, that one that everyone told you should be taking. And you found yourself in a marriage, and since you're watching this channel, I'm assuming that marriage probably didn't go so well, or it's not going well right now. So after I had checked all the boxes, I had a wife, I had a house, I had a child, I found that my world was closing in around me, and the ability to make choices, to change things, was being more and more limited. So I was literally creating this prison. I was building it stick by stick, and it was locking me into a path that I probably would not have chosen if I had known any better. And it wasn't just about the marriage, it was also about my career and so many other things, because each decision that I made literally cut myself off from all the other options. And I don't think that's what most young people realize, is as they make decisions, they are literally choosing one over an infinite number of other options. So when you choose that one path over all the other paths, you kind of lock yourself in. And if you're not really, really happy with that path, whatever it is, well, sometimes it's very hard to get off of it. So when my marriage started breaking down 10 years in, the stress levels in my life started increasing significantly. So I wasn't super happy with my career, although it paid really well, and I could do it pretty well. It was a job, and I guess most people hate their jobs, and we just all kind of accept that you're going to hate your job, and you just do it because you get paid. I get that. I absolutely get that. But it felt very much like I was sacrificing my life, my time, my desires, things that I wanted to experience. I really love enjoying, like everyone else, I enjoy having fun. And I was not having any fun at all. So at home, I've got all this stress. And then at work, I've got all this stress. So I've got no refuge. I've got no place that I can go and really, really relax. Going to the gym was all I had, and then eventually walking the dogs. Those were my 2 points of refuge. In the middle of all that change in my life and upheaval, I turned 50. And that was 9 years ago, so I'm 59 now. 50 is a big ass number, do you know what I mean? Like when you're 25, 50 is not on your radar. You're not even thinking 50. When you're 35, it still seems a distant abstraction. It's not a real thing. But when you turn 50, you realize that the time is running out. That you're not going to get a refund on any of this time later. No one's going to say, oh, you sacrificed so much of your life on behalf of your family or your wife or your job, so we're going to grant you an extra 15 years so you can finally live that life you always wanted. No, there's no refund on time. So that kind of added some urgency to my agenda. I didn't know what I was going to do about it, but I knew I needed to start making changes in my own benefit, or for my own benefit. And that's really where quitting the job kind of became an essential. It became really critical that I quit at that point, because I knew that I could not waste another minute. I started thinking about the value of time. And we think in terms of monetization, which is, I mean, you need to have money to live, but are you going to spend your entire life making money, you know? Is your life only going to be about that? Because most of the ways I spend my money were superficial and stupid. You know, I mean, sure, there were certain things that we needed, like a house and food and cars and stuff like that. But no, we didn't need to go to all these vacations. We didn't need to have a nanny, for God's sake. We didn't need, a 5,000 square foot house. We didn't need all that, you know? So letting go of the job became really, really essential for my peace of mind. And it helped me establish my value system. In that moment, or in that time in my life, I was able to establish that my time was my most valuable asset. And it was something that I was not going to take for granted. It was something that I wanted to use more effectively. I wanted to be able to look back on my life at some point and say, yeah, you made some good choices there at the end. Like, you may have screwed it up in the beginning, but you got your act together and you finished strong. And yeah, that's kind of where I'm at now. It's like, yeah, I want to finish strong. So coming to the conclusion that I wanted to change my life and start living it in a more meaningful way, that really happened only because of all of the pain that I felt at my job and in my marriage. Without that pain, I would not have grown and learned to change and really start to revalue my time and my life in a way that I can now say I enjoy enormously. And I feel like I'm in much more control, and I feel like if I decide that I want to have a relationship with a woman, I can do it from a completely different place than I would have, say, 30 years ago. The role that I play in the lives of the people in my life is exactly what I want it to be. I am able to be a supportive and helpful father. I'm able to be a great son to my mom. I'm able to be great friends to my friends. I'm able to be a great trainer and coach to my clients. I feel like I'm hitting on all cylinders, and it's the first time in my life I've ever really felt like that. And I know that unless I had gone through the difficulty and pain of a job that I really hated and a marriage that was falling apart, I would never have gotten there. Now, there's still a lot more to learn. There's still a lot more to go. And I realize, just because I'm 59 years old doesn't mean I'm dead. I'm still hoping to, deal with a lot of other things. The video I actually put up earlier this week on sleeping with a psycho, I still haven't got all that worked out. That was just a couple of years ago, So relationships, they are your teacher, You're going to find all of your frailties and your insecurities and your shortcomings and all the shit you never worked out. It gets exposed in a relationship. And so yeah, they're a pain in the ass. And women, they get on my last nerve sometimes. As I was walking here, there were two women speaking very loudly on the trail. Just obnoxious. They were just obnoxious. And just watching them and listening to them having this loud conversation in this beautiful, quiet setting just went up my ass sideways, But nevertheless, there is some value in those relationships, because I tell you, without them, most men, I think that for the most part, men would still be hitting each other over the heads with clubs if it hadn't been for the motivation to win some girl's hand, or to have a family, or to build an estate, or to, in that process of relationship, grow and learn. And even though my ex-wife certainly is an immature spirit and she has a lot to learn, she did teach me a lot too. She wasn't a complete waste. She gave me some perspectives on life that I never would have gotten on my own. And even if the psycho woman, and other women that I dated, I've learned stuff from them, not just through the process of banging my head against a wall, but from actually having conversations with them. There's been some benefits and some outcomes that I grew from. So I can't condemn them, because they do bring some things of value. I think the critical element, and I mentioned this a little bit earlier about red pill, is you just have to know what your limits are, and you need to know where the controls are, where the buttons and the levers are, so that you don't get yourself trapped in a relationship that might not be ideal for you. That you understand the thought processes of women, and you understand how you can manage them so that they don't manage you. Because if you don't lead, they will, and you have to be willing to walk away. And that's the most critical thing. Is I think once women think they have you wrapped, they think that you're not going to leave. And so long as you maintain that ace card, that you can walk away at any moment, you can maintain some level of control in a woman. But anyway, I'm getting off track here. So when you ask me, is marriage a good idea? Well, then you have to sort of ask yourself, is anything a good idea? Is life a good idea? We're here. Why are we here? What are we doing? What's this about? If you're not going to live it, you're not going to experience things, then yeah, you may as well never have been born. So yeah, there's risk involved in everything that you do in life. The challenge is to be up to that challenge, is to be the man that you need to be. Because whether or not you choose well, you're going to grow, you're going to learn, you're going to become a better man as a result. Just don't be unrealistic about your expectations of what you're going to get from a marriage, or from a job, or from a career, or from anything else. I think that most people have an existential fear of being alone. And I think that's one of the reasons why we seek out partnerships, we seek out relationships like marriage. Because the idea of going through life by ourselves just seems like too much, like it's just more than we can handle. And the concept or the idea or even the illusion that you've got someone who's with you when you're married as a partner, it is an illusion. It's not something that's real. You're still alone in your head. You're still going to die by yourself. There's no getting around that. And so in order for you to have a happy, healthy relationship with anyone, you've got to start by having a happy, healthy relationship with yourself. If you can't feel good about who you are and what your life is about and the direction that you're going, and you can't own your own life, you can't truly be the owner of it by making the choices that you want, then no partner of any quality is ever going to compensate for that lack, period. You're just never going to find someone who's going to make that better. Being in a bad marriage was probably the best thing that ever happened to me, because it forced me to look inward, spend a lot of time on my own, walking the trails, in the gym, building my own business. It forced me to start making choices that benefited me, and they didn't account for anyone else's desires for me. I didn't care what anyone else's beliefs or concepts or vision for life was. I could do my own thing from scratch. And it was fucking hard, but it was fucking worth it. And I strongly recommend that if you're wondering if you're on the right path and marriage is in your sights, do a little self-evaluation and decide, are you making these choices because they're yours or because they're part of someone else's path, some other algorithm, someone else's expectation of you? Because if you're living up to someone else's expectations and you're not living up to your own, you're going to fail. There's no question about it. You failed before you started. All right, you guys, that's pretty much what I got for you today. Please remember to like and subscribe. And if you know anyone who might be going through some difficulty or thinking about getting married or struggling with their own marriage and having trouble with it, please share this video with them. I'm trying to grow the channel, and the more people that I think can hear this information, I think we can start to find a moderate path toward, some equilibrium. Anyway, thanks very much, and I look forward to talking to you or seeing you in the next video. Remember, stay healthy, and if you can, stay single.